What if those curses you hear about, the ones carved into ancient stone walls, what if they weren't just warnings? What if they were actually instructions? I mean, think about it. A civilization that spent thousands of years studying death, maybe they figured out something we still can't explain. Let's dig in and see if we can unearth the truth.
22. That's the number. In 1923, there were 22 people officially there when King Tut's tomb was finally opened, a room that had been sealed up for over 3,000 years. And what started out as the greatest archaeological discovery of all time, well, it pretty quickly started to unravel into this string of really bizarre, unexplained tragedies.
And that right there is the big question, right? Was this just a run of incredibly bad luck? Or was some kind of ancient power actually at play here? Let's take a look at the evidence.
Okay, so our investigation has to start with the most famous case of all, the tomb of King Tutankhamun.
So the timeline begins with this moment of absolute triumph. But an omen, a really bad one, appeared almost immediately. On the very night that Howard Carter and his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, broke through that sealed door, Carter's pet canary, which he considered his good luck charm, was killed. And not just by anything, but by a cobra, the symbol of the pharaohs, meant to protect them. The local workers, they were terrified. They saw it as a clear warning. But Carter, he just brushed it off. The first human victim wouldn't be far behind. It was Lord Carnarvon himself, the guy who paid for the whole expedition. And the sheer strangeness of his death is what really kicked off this whole legend. See, it wasn't some accident in the tomb. It started as a simple mosquito bite, but it got infected and spiraled into fatal blood poisoning. But here's the really chilling part. The story goes that at the exact moment he died in his hotel room, all the lights across Cairo flickered and went out. A total blackout that to this day engineers have never found a logical cause for.
And Lord Carnarvon's death? Oh, that wasn't a one-off thing. It was just the beginning of a terrifying pattern.
Just look at this. The pace is absolutely terrifying. Within just 6 years of opening that tomb, 11 people directly connected to it were dead. Fast forward to 1935, and that number doubles to 22. It's like the team was being picked off one by one.
So naturally, this leads to two completely different explanations. On one hand, you have science, pointing to perfectly logical causes, right? Dormant bacteria, toxic mold, maybe some gases that were trapped in the tomb for millennia. But then you have the inscription that was supposedly found. A direct, terrifying warning: death shall come on swift wings to him that toucheth the tomb of the pharaoh. But hold on, this brings up a huge puzzle. If this curse was real, how come the one guy who led the whole expedition, the man who found the tomb, survived? Howard Carter lived for another 16 years, dying at the age of 64. And the reason why might be incredibly important. Remember the very specific wording of the curse? To him that toucheth the tomb? While Carter was famously meticulous, a total professional, and sources say he never once handled a single artifact without wearing gloves. But this wasn't just about King Tut. Oh no! A much later case suggests that leaving these deadly warnings was a pretty widespread practice. So in 1993, this inscription was found at the entrance to the tomb of Amenhotep II. I mean, wow. The ancient Egyptians really did not mince words, did they? This isn't some subtle hint. It's a direct, incredibly violent threat. So faced with this threat, the chief assistant on the site, a man named Ibrahim al-Sahad, he openly mocked it. He actually laughed it off, saying, "Old words from dead men cannot touch the living." He basically dared the curse to do something. 3. That's how many days it took. 3 days between his defiant challenge and the incident that would change his entire life. He took a nasty fall from some scaffolding right there at the dig site. He survived, but he was left paralyzed, unable to walk. Years later, his testimony wasn't about the accident itself. It was about the curse. He claimed the words from that tomb wall haunted him, that he could hear them echoing in his head long after the fall. Okay, this brings us to our final case. And this one involves a curse so disturbing, so different, that the people who found it, they refused to publish their findings for over 40 years. They hid it from the world. It was discovered way back in 1935, but it wasn't a standard keep out sign.
This wasn't aimed at thieves or vandals. No, this was something far more sophisticated. It was a trap, a curse aimed squarely at the minds of anyone who could actually decipher it. And the concept behind it was apparently called the memory of stone. It's this belief that words, when they're carved with the right intent, with the right knowledge, could actually hold on to a latent power, an energy that could be unleashed on anyone who truly understood their meaning, no matter how many thousands of years had passed. This right here, this is the last thing Professor Chauvelin, the man who found the inscription, ever wrote in his journal. It is a desperate, terrified warning to anyone who might follow him. He believed the priests who wrote the curse had made it specifically for people like him, for people like us. And his warning was ignored. In 1978, his journals were unsealed by a small group of researchers. Of the 4 people in that room, 3 were dead within 5 years, all from unexplained causes. The 4th, a Dr. Sophie Marchant, is technically still alive, but she has never, ever spoken a single word about what she read on those pages. So where does that leave us? Well, it's an open verdict, really. The skeptic sees a series of tragic coincidences, just our brain's tendency to find patterns where there aren't any. But the believer? They see a civilization that dedicated its entire existence to studying life and death, and maybe, just maybe, they found a way to weaponize that knowledge. And you know, maybe that's the most haunting thought of all. This isn't just about ghosts and pharaohs, it's about knowledge. Knowledge that was powerful enough to be dangerous, and important enough to be hidden away in stone, just waiting for someone to be smart enough, or maybe foolish enough, to finally understand it.